They are doing it again. After everything they promised us, after all the talk about listening to the fans, after swearing up and down that things would be different under Triple H's creative leadership, WWE is about to pull the rug out from under us in the most devastating way possible. WrestleMania 42, the show we've been building toward 4 months, the event that's supposed to be the culmination of storylines we've invested our time and emotions into, is reportedly being put on complete lockdown. And I'm not talking about normal creative changes or last-minute adjustments. I'm talking about a total nuclear overhaul that's going to destroy everything we thought we knew about the road to WrestleMania. But that's not even the worst part. The worst part is what's happening to Raw and SmackDown. The brand split that finally started feeling important again? Dead. The unique identities each show was developing? Killed. The long-term storytelling that was actually making sense for the first time in years? Thrown in the garbage like it never mattered. And you want to know the most infuriating thing about all of this? The people making these decisions don't care that you're angry. They don't care that you feel betrayed. They are counting on you to keep watching anyway, because that's what you always do. Well, I'm here to tell you exactly what's going on behind the curtain, and trust me, you're going to want to stick around until the end of this video because what I'm about to reveal is going to change the way you look at WWE forever. Let me ask you something right now, and I need you to answer honestly in the comments. How many times does WWE have to disrespect your intelligence before you actually do something about it? Because this WrestleMania lockdown situation is the ultimate test of whether fans still have any power in this relationship, or if we're just content to be treated like ATM machines with eyeballs. Here's what we know so far. Multiple sources, and I'm talking people with direct knowledge of creative meetings, have confirmed that WrestleMania 42 is undergoing what they are calling an emergency restructuring. Now, WWE hasn't officially confirmed any of this, which should immediately tell you how bad things are. When they go into radio silence mode, it means the chaos behind the scenes is so intense that they can't even get their story straight enough to feed us the usual corporate nonsense. The matches that were being built, potentially scrapped. The storylines that have been developing since last year's WrestleMania, apparently not good enough. The dream matches that fans have been begging for and that seemed like they were finally happening, well, forget about those because someone in a suit somewhere decided they know better than everyone else what makes good television. And here's where it gets absolutely maddening. The reason for this lockdown, according to insiders, has nothing to do with creative quality. Triple H's booking has been praised by fans and critics alike. The storylines make sense. The matches have been phenomenal. Ratings have been solid. The locker room morale is the highest it's been in years. By every measurable metric, WWE's creative direction has been successful. So why the complete overhaul? Money, sponsorships, corporate partnerships, streaming metrics, the same soulless business concerns that have been killing wrestling for decades. Apparently, some executives looked at projections and demographics and engagement analytics, and they decided that what's working isn't working enough. They want bigger, they want safer. They want more mainstream appeal, even if that means stripping away everything that makes wrestling special in the first place. Drop a comment right now and tell me, would you rather have a WrestleMania that's creatively satisfying but might not break records, or a WrestleMania that's designed by committee to maximize profit but feels completely hollow? Because that's the choice WWE just made for you. Let's talk about what this means for specific storylines, because this is where the betrayal cuts deepest. You've got feuds that have been building for 6 months, 8 months, some even longer. You've got character arcs that were finally paying off. You've got wrestlers who have been working their hearts out to get over and build momentum toward WrestleMania moments that could define their careers. And now, all of that might be worthless. Reports suggest that several planned championship matches are being reconsidered. Mid-card feuds that fans have actually been invested in might be rushed to conclusions on random episodes of Raw or SmackDown just to clear the deck. Rising stars who were supposed to get their WrestleMania breakthrough moments might be bumped off the card entirely to make room for part-timers and celebrity appearances that nobody asked for. You want to know what makes me absolutely furious? WWE spent the last 2 years rebuilding trust with the fanbase. After the Vince McMahon era ended and Triple H took over creative, we finally felt like our voices mattered. We felt like the company was actually listening to what we wanted. We started believing again that WWE could be the product we fell in love with. And just when we let our guard down, just when we started trusting them again, they pulled this garbage. It's like they can't help themselves. It's like there's some corporate DNA hardwired into that company that forces them to make the worst possible decision at the worst possible time. Here's a question for the comments. Name one time in the last 5 years when WWE made a last-minute change to WrestleMania plans and it actually improved the show. I'll wait, because I can name about 15 times when their panic decisions and creative rewrites made things objectively worse. Now let's address the Raw and SmackDown reset, because this is somehow even more insulting than the WrestleMania situation. The brand split was finally working. Raw felt different from SmackDown. Each show had its own identity, its own roster, its own championships that actually mattered. Fans could choose which show to follow based on their preferences, and it created genuine excitement when wrestlers would occasionally cross over. But apparently, that's all going away. The reports suggest that WWE is moving toward a unified roster approach where anyone can appear on any show at any time. And before you say, well, that gives us more variety, let me explain why this is actually a disaster. First, it kills long-term storytelling. When wrestlers can just pop up anywhere, it becomes impossible to build sustained feuds and character development. Everything becomes episodic and forgettable. Second, it devalues the championships. If everyone can challenge for every title, then brand-specific championships become meaningless. Third, it eliminates the possibility of roster shakeups and draft excitement, which have traditionally been some of the most fun times of the year for fans. But most importantly, and this is what really gets me, it proves that WWE doesn't trust its own creative process. The brand split requires discipline. It requires long-term planning. It requires trusting that if you build stories properly, fans will stay invested. A unified roster is the lazy way out. It's the acknowledgement that they can't be bothered to book 2 shows competently, so they are just going to throw everyone together and hope for the best. Comment below and let me know which brand split match were you most looking forward to seeing at WrestleMania that's now probably not going to happen because of this unified roster nonsense. Let's talk about the talent for a second, because they're the real victims in all of this. Imagine you're a WWE wrestler who's been working the independent circuit for years, grinding it out, perfecting your craft, finally getting signed to WWE and working your way up the card. You get a storyline. You start building momentum. You can see WrestleMania on the horizon. You start thinking about what your entrance music is going to sound like in front of 80,000 fans. You start planning what you're going to say in interviews after you have your breakthrough moment. And then, 2 months before the show, some executive who's never taken a bump in their life decides your match doesn't fit the new direction. Your storyline gets dropped. Your opponent gets moved to a different feud. Your WrestleMania moment evaporates because of corporate politics that have nothing to do with your talent or your hard work. That's not just disappointing, that's soul-crushing. That's the kind of thing that makes wrestlers question why they are killing themselves in this business when their careers can be derailed by spreadsheets and PowerPoint presentations. The wrestling business has always been carny and unpredictable, but there used to be a logic to it. If you got over with the crowd, you moved up the card. If you had great matches, you got more opportunities. If you worked hard and proved yourself, eventually you'd get your moment. But now it doesn't matter how over you are or how great your matches are, because everything is subject to change based on metrics and algorithms and focus groups that have nothing to do with actual wrestling. Here's what I want you to think about. WWE is literally in the best position it's been in years. They've got the Netflix deal, which is the most lucrative streaming agreement in wrestling history. They've got Tony Khan and AEW actually providing legitimate competition, which forces them to be better. They've got a roster that's absolutely stacked with talent from top to bottom. They've got Triple H running creative, and by all accounts, he's been killing it. So with all of those advantages, with all of that potential, with all of those pieces in place for success, why would they choose this moment to panic and blow everything up? It doesn't make sense from a creative perspective. It doesn't make sense from a business perspective. It doesn't even make sense from a fan satisfaction perspective. Unless you understand one fundamental truth about WWE, they will always choose short-term gains over long-term sustainability. They will always chase trends instead of setting them. They will always react out of fear instead of acting out of confidence. That's who they are. That's who they've always been. And moments like this prove they are never going to change. Drop a comment and answer this. If you could send one message to WWE's board of directors right now, what would you say to them about these WrestleMania and brand split changes? You know what the saddest part of all this is? We're going to keep watching. WWE knows we're going to keep watching. They know that no matter how angry we get, no matter how many times they disrespect our intelligence and waste our time, we're going to tune in on Monday and Friday and whenever WrestleMania happens because we're addicted to the hope that maybe, just maybe, this time will be different. And that's exactly why they get away with it. They've conditioned us to accept disappointment. They've trained us to lower our expectations. They've taught us that our opinions don't really matter because at the end of the day, we're going to give them our money and our attention regardless of what they do. But here's the thing, it doesn't have to be this way. AEW exists. Independent wrestling is thriving. New Japan still puts on incredible shows. There are options now. There are alternatives. You don't have to keep accepting subpar products from a company that clearly doesn't value your loyalty. The WrestleMania lockdown is a test. The Raw and SmackDown reset is a test. WWE is testing to see how much they can get away with before fans actually start voting with their wallets and their viewership. They are testing to see if the goodwill Triple H built up is enough to survive executive interference and corporate meddling. So here's my final question for you, and this is the big one: at what point do you actually walk away? What would WWE have to do to finally lose you as a fan? Comment below with your honest answer, and make sure you're subscribed to Wrestling Zone 1 because we're going to be covering every development in this story as it unfolds. WrestleMania 42 is supposed to be a celebration of wrestling. It's supposed to be the biggest show of the year, the culmination of a year's worth of storytelling, the event that creates moments we'll remember forever. Instead, it's turning into another example of WWE's complete inability to get out of their own way. The lockdown is real, the reset is happening, and unless fans make their voices heard in a way that WWE can't ignore, this is just going to be the beginning of another downward spiral that we've all seen before. This is Wrestling Zone 1, and we're not going to stay silent while WWE destroys everything we love about this business. Hit that like button, share this video everywhere, and let's make sure they know that we're not going to accept this without a fight.